There comes a moment when you've exhausted all your options while simultaneously coming across a product that reinvents your notion about what an honest and high-quality company looks like. The Healing Rose was the catalyst to that very moment for me. The Healing Rose Company is a female-owned Massachusetts CBD company based out of Newburyport that prides themselves in using only the best USDA-certified organically sourced ingredients for their vast line of therapeutic products. Their line stretches from lip balms, tinctures, skin balms, roll-on oils, and bath products. Their transparency places them above the rest with third-party tested results showcasing their intolerance to toxic pesticides, solvents, metals, and harmful elements. They provide full-spectrum CBD in many of their products, excluding their tinctures, which carry a broad-spectrum profile, ideal for not having to worry about any low-level THC, which is common for many CBD products. That one's my favorite, and it's good on the palate. Full-spectrum means that they extract from the hemp plant an array of different therapeutic cannabinoids along with CBD and their profile terpenes. The combination results in a greater outcome of healing and relaxation for any individual's needs. Whether you are an athlete looking for any recovery advantage, a patient in need of some relief to remind yourself that you are still a warrior, or someone who sees the frontiers of life with a little reserve and want to calm the mental storms that keep you from personally exploring, the Healing Rose CBD Company is here for your full body and mind optimization. Please visit thehealingroseco.com to explore their diverse line of products and support one of New England's best rising stars in an industry where ethics are fundamental, and a company like this will only be found sitting at the throne of it all. Use the code SAGAS, S-A-G-A-S, for 10% off your purchase. Again, visit thehealingroseco.com and use the promo code SAGAS at checkout for 10% off your purchase. To the many martial artists, entrepreneurs, dreamers, and thinkers, how often, for your own sake, would you love a symbolic reminder of your mentality and the perfect dichotomy to match? Murder Nerd is an independent clothing apparel line that represents the sharp, relentless focus towards personal growth and athletics. It embodies the vitality of their creative owners and the network of people who run on the same frequency. Why not elevate your frequency in comfort and style? Visit www.murdernerdsfitness.com for their personal line of shirt and hat wear. Enter the promo code SAGAS, S-A-G-A-S, for 10% off your purchase. Again, visit murdernerdfitness.com and enter the promo code SAGAS for 10% off your purchase. Bingo. All right. We're in the chamber. Let's see. There we go. Let's try that. I'm trying to find my way through these menus. Trying not to forget stuff. All right, here we go. Where are we? All right, we're at 140, 30 minutes. One of these days, I actually am going to try to boost this to 150. I know that might not be hot to like a walk-in sauna standard, but 140 is pretty hot in this thing. And it varies on how much you really start sweating. Some days it's like your body adapts to it, and it's like it almost wants you to turn it up because you're barely sweating. I mean, not barely sweating. I sweat every time, but there's definitely days where I sweat a lot more, and I'm wondering if 150 would even be healthy. Because that is hot, man. I probably wouldn't do it for a half hour. Probably a little less. So there's something that came to me, I'd say about a week or so ago. And, it's all these like little events that kind of trigger the thought process. And then I got to write it down and sit with it and then explore it. And then usually when I explore it, it helps me kind of more define the idea that I've been contemplating, and then now I can intertwine it into my practice because it's made sense after I've gone through it. But I was sitting down. There's this book that I really, really love, and I bought this book for a few really close friends of mine who have kids, and it's a book that I was reading to my daughter, and it's called What to Do with a Problem. The artwork is awesome. It's a really neat style. It's almost, I don't know what you would call it, kind of an anime style. The way they use color in the book is really neat. But it's like a series of 3, and I have one book, and it's called What to Do with a Problem. And spoiler alert, in the end, this problem that kind of acts as like this cloud that's haunting this little kid, he ends up kind of figuring out that when you look at the problem and face it instead of running away from it, you find that there is something useful inside of the problem. You find like a lesson, or you find a new discovery in your situation or your thought patterns, whatever it is. There's something new that you can now utilize. So the idea is that when you have a problem, see what is beneficial about that problem. And I've always loved that. I think that that's such a great just concept for a little kid's book. And they have other ones in other series and stuff. And it's funny how it kind of got me to trace back and then piece a bunch of things together. And it started with, let's see if I can bridge this so that it makes sense, but I used to live in Worcester, and I was coming home one night. Actually, no. I think it was the middle of the day. I think I had an early shift. I used to run a coffee shop in Framingham, and I was coming home, and I don't know what had happened, but I'm coming home, and I'm in Worcester now. You know, traffic's always crazy. Things merge. Everybody's kind of in high alert. And all of a sudden, somebody does something to me, cuts me off. I don't know what it is, but I wasn't happy with it. So I beeped, right? I want to say innocent beep, but there's no innocent beep. Like, people love to beep, and they don't realize that could be the very first and last thing that's going to piss somebody off enough where you're going to be in deep shit. Like, I know it's very like, it's a quick reaction, right? Because we're all kind of on a high alert when you're driving, and you feel threatened in that moment, and you're just like, yeah, fuck you, and you beep. So I beep, not smart, and I don't know what it was. I think it was a flower truck, like this little cargo flower truck, and it's in front of me, and it slows down, way down. So it hears me, gets pissed off. So then I beep again, right? You're just kind of reinforcing the frustration and the rage. So then it accelerates. So then I keep driving. I go around the guy, get to the light, take a left onto a connector street to where I was living. So it's following me. I'm like, all right, I am near my house. And I don't know who's at my house, but I'm not going to go to my house, because if this is going to go down, we can't pull into my driveway. So I get onto my street, and they get on my street. So then I just drive past the house. I go past the house, and I go into like a 4-way intersection that's near a school and a park. So then as I take a turn out of the 4-way, the flower truck is behind me. So then I stop, do a U-E right in the middle of the road. And I see the guy. He's like, what's your problem? And, you know, this is absolutely not smart, but you're just at this point where, at least for me, I'm not skilled in de-escalating this. So I just tell him, I'm like, fuck off. Why are you following me? He goes, me? Fuck off? No, fuck you. And it's literally just fuck yous back and forth. And I see another guy in there. Keep in mind, I hear an accent. I'm like, wait, this guy's Brazilian. Didn't know this then, but just so you know, if you got one Brazilian telling you to fuck off, you should probably just take off. If you have two, you better hope you have a will, because like, as beautiful as Brazilians are, they will leave you looking for air and hoping that somebody sees you with your injuries, because they're beautiful, but they will mess you up. And that was a very big mistake on my part. And I didn't know that at the time. And we're literally just kind of swearing at each other, waiting for one person to open the door. We're like 3 feet from each other, parked kind of parallel. And just kind of waiting. He's like, I don't like the way you talk to me. I don't like the way you talk. And I'm just like, fuck off, fuck you. All this immature shit. And then slowly we just kind of like start to drive away. And that could have gone really bad. That is the perfect spot for open the door and get down, right? Straight fight. They take off. I do a couple laps just to make sure they're not following me again. And then I pull into my house, and then I kind of calm myself down. You know, and you run through all the stupid stuff that usually guys with egos do. Like, did I handle that the way that I should have? You know, you run scenarios of like, well, if you got out of the car, I would have done this, I would have done that. You know, trying to kind of boost your ego because you know that somewhere in there you actually feel disrespected, you know? And in the end, none of that should have happened. I should have just not done anything. I shouldn't even have beeped, right? It's the city. What are you going to do? Not to mention, once I got to know that culture, in Brazil, if you beep, that is pretty much an invitation to brawl. So, like, here in America, we beep and we think it's just like a, hey, watch out type of language. And those are fighting signals in other countries. So you got to be very careful who you beep to. And for some reason, it got me thinking of that and just how far away I am from just that kind of reaction. You know, it was a very reactive moment for me. And, you know, I try to, I think of things through the lens of kind of what has been going on, right? This is kind of a little bit of the theme of some of these podcasts. And to be very honest, like, what has changed the level of my reaction to shit like that? Because I used to be very reactive. And I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. But, like, it was just so stupid. I didn't know how to fight. I didn't know how to defend myself, you know? I might have thought that I did. But just reacting can get you into so much trouble in so many ways. And what I think has kind of pushed the reaction mechanism kind of in me is this forced scenario of needing to be patient. And what I mean by that is like, so here it is, like, with the beginning of the things that went on with my wife, you go through a million different doctors, you go through a million different scenarios, therapies, medications, and it is a roller coaster of emotions of thinking, this is it, this is going to do it, this is going to move the needle, we're going to pick up the flag and move it forward, and now we're going to make progress here. One by one, it just doesn't move. Nothing happens. And it makes you have to sit there and be patient. And yes, the needle has moved, but it's taken almost 12 years to move it. And in a way, it's gone backwards. So we're moving forward only from like a negative point, really. So, and I'm thinking to myself, like, it's like a kick in the balls that is actually a hard way of practicing, what is it called? Like delay of gratification, right? That's kind of one way of learning to be patient. It's like finding ways to not just always satisfy yourself in the moment. And that's hard to, right? You can get everything and anything that you want almost instantaneously. And if not, then in 2 days, right? You want a game, you want food, you want clothes, you want some bullshit gadget, it's here in 2 days. We don't have to wait and get excited, you know? We don't have to just succumb to, you're just not getting it because you don't have the money, right? Now we have credit. We can do whatever we want. We can build whatever synthetic life that we think will make us happy. And it happens fast. And I know it, I feel it. I you know, you get mad if there's two people in front of you type of shit. You know, everything should happen in 30 seconds. So like, but with this, it was very different. You know, it's heartbreaking every time something doesn't work. Something doesn't help, and you're just waiting day in and day out, and the days turn into months. And the months turn into eventually years. And kind of coming out, or just not coming out of it, but just having a small little realization in the process. And if the needle has moved, you do realize, like, wow, this long, prolonged process is such a kind of heavy cultivator of patience. Because you don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. I could get mad. I can get let down. But it doesn't make anything move or change. So what do I do to kind of cope with that? How do I continue to ride that wave? And like, you know, that's what the book kind of makes me kind of contemplate and parallel into the story, which is the idea that there's something useful in this problem, and you only know that something is useful if you sit there and kind of face what the problem is. And you know, and I know that there are many things, and there's still things. But patience was absolutely one of the biggest ones that it's still teaching me, because like it's humbling too, right? This is so big that it's like that you don't have control over it, and you always want control of so many things. And when you don't have control over it, it really does. It makes it very real that circumstances don't give a shit how talented you are, how much money you have, how charismatic you are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care. And you could see all of those as some kind of a weapon in your pocket to kind of combat some of these certain circumstances. But, you know, significant ones like this, it doesn't care what you've accumulated and who you are. So it's very humbling, and you do have to kind of take a back seat to the sense that you have power over the circumstance, which really you only have power over kind of how you're perceiving it and then dealing with it. You know, and that's kind of the humbling part. You know, you're not the changer of all things. And, and as I have realized that, it also makes me understand that, kind of piece together this idea that, all right, difficult things that are humbling will forge a certain type of perspective and patience. And I guess that is kind of I can use the circumstance that's been forced and put in place to then use a microcosm of that to then continue to grow that patience, right? Whether it's trying to learn something new that's difficult, right? Oh, I suck at this, and trying to get better at it, slowly picking away at it, knowing that you're not good at it, then getting better and better and better. It's that in itself is it's delayed gratification, right? It only feels good when you're finally good at it. And if you're lucky, then even practicing something when you're not good at it can somewhat feel good. So that shows me that I can apply that in other ways, and I can push it forward by my own accord with making more scenarios where I grow from doing things that take a little while or that are hard to do. And to kind of bring it back to that whole thing of the guys in the flower truck and all that, if that were me right now, I don't even think I would have beeped. I can't even remember the last time that I beeped. Because it really does wake me up in the moment of just feeling patience, right? Feeling all right, this is cool, that's fine. You want to get somewhere, you want to feel like this is your road, then I'm just going to let you have the road, And because some of these things kind of, by their nature, either scrape away a little bit of the ego that's drives some of these reactions, because that ego is slowly getting kind of chipped away, I don't have those reactions. And I find that's the biggest part. If you're a reactive person, it's an ego thing. You either want to own the room, you want to own the opinion, you want to control the trivial, and because of that, it's the perfect fuel for you to kind of have a reactive moment, whether it's in anger or whether it's most of the time, I guess it would be in anger, and just not thinking certain things through, where you're assigning a certain situation as kind of a smack to you in the face, right? Like a symbolic kind of smack to just who you are as a person, and that's never what it is, And I know that that's not everything in moments of reaction. Reaction can just be levels of frustration and just a lot of different things. But I know for me, when I do react, it's absolutely driven by ego. It's absolutely driven by an echo of feeling disrespected. And now's my chance to not be disrespected, right? And I think the biggest thing to help with that is finding a way to build that patience. And as I've said before, it's a unique scenario that we find ourselves in. And it's fucking shitty. But because there's no, I mean, I guess there's always an option, but to me, there's no option of actually running away from it. It ends up actually uprooting things and then allowing things to kind of slowly grow that just, I wouldn't know how to make them grow without this scenario. I don't know, maybe I would, but it really does just force a lot of weird ideas and really, in the end, positive just mental perspectives on a lot of things, because you just have to sit there and kind of think it through, because if not, then you're just kind of sitting there suffering and playing that old game of like, somebody take me away from this. But at some point you do have to just sit there, and in just sitting there you ponder these things. And what I'm trying to do now is find little signs in my day that will kind of trigger these thoughts. Like the reading of the book, right? It just kind of, it's the first domino in me trying to connect all of these dots of why I appreciate this book, where the first thought is after that, how it connects to my real life, and where I am now just attitude-wise, and how that all kind of plays together. Because if I can connect the dots, then I can kind of lay it out, and then I can remember it, and then I can kind of continue to practice this shit. Because I do not want to get left on the sidewalk by a gang of anybody, because I felt that you getting in the lane too soon was an attack on my character. It's just so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. And yeah, it's a unique scenario where you just have to sit there and just take it, hoping and wishing that the person that you love gets better. And when they don't, how do we think now? What is a symptom of having to wait it out? And I think the symptom for me ended up becoming a big moment of learning how to be patient. I would consider myself a patient person. To a degree. I've been much less patient, but yeah, it's I never knew that before. I never knew these ways of looking at things. I never knew that I should just not be afraid, do something difficult, do something that's maybe beyond my ability. And as I go for it, you learn to be patient, right? I never finished college, right? But that's kind of one of the first places, a great place to, one, let go of the personality that you were for everybody in your life growing up, and now you get to figure out who you are, for one, with your opinions. And two, work towards something where you have to be patient. You have to find a way to get through every test in every class, through every semester in every year, till eventually you graduate, right? And that is like, that's your first big mature moment, I would assume, in delaying gratification, right? Everybody wants a job, everybody wants money, but how do you get these things? You can do it on your own. Most certainly you can do it on your own without a college education. My circle of friends is a testament to that, and that's a totally different thing. that I want to get into. But for most people, the traditional route is to just get an education. But you have to be able to kind of delay that great moment of achieving the degree or certificate or license. You know, and in that process, that can be like the great divider between people that can be patient and the people that can't. And I know there's a lot of details into kind of why you can't be patient and why you might be able to finish or not finish school, whatever. But, you know, I never had that moment. And I, for sure, as somebody who has kind of slid through, hoping that things come to me quickly, hoping that things can come to me a little easy. And I'm still trying to figure out why I was that person. You know, and I find a little bit of that person slide through here and there now. And like other parts of who I was, I despise it. So I end up kind of overcompensating, which I know can kind of really just be a weird defense mechanism for myself, trying to get as far away as what I didn't like about myself before. And that's one of them. Just wanting shit easy. Just, why? God, that always comes too quickly. I didn't mean to say that. Yeah, so I'm hoping that I get more moments like that. Moments where little things, little events, little signs through the day I can kind of connect with, that can kind of show me the bigger picture as to, kind of where I am now. And that I can kind of symbolically just put it on paper where I am and how much I hope that I've grown, because I haven't been happy with who I was. And yet again, this circumstance has allowed me to kind of rise to the occasion in certain moments. And as shitty as it is, there's little pieces of pride that I do have in not crumbling when my family has really, really needed me. And as this continues, I hope that I'm kind of there for myself when I really need me. Because, you know, that's a little bit of an issue in itself, is that trying to maneuver through all this a little bit, not totally, but a little bit, with the sense of being alone. It's like, I'd like to be able to get some mentorship. I'd like to be able to get some advice, or just an ear to talk into, right? And I know that's my own fault, because I haven't shared much of this, and I always think I have a handle on things. And for the most part I do, but I don't know how healthy that's actually going to be for me in the long run by not sharing what's going on. Because I still go on this assumption that I just don't want to come off as somebody who's complaining, right? I don't. And even in doing these podcasts on my own, it's like I'm really just trying to, like I said before, just throw things at the wall and hopefully things stick when it comes to just off the cuff thoughts. But I want them to be at least somewhat spiced up with the reality that I've gained something from this. I'm not just here to fucking give off some sob story, you know? And not everything is about this, but it's a huge part of my life and a huge part of what has helped me turn that ship in a positive direction. And I think that that's kind of an important message, because it's like when we suffer, we think it's never going to end, and we think that nothing good can come out of it. And so much good has come out of this. And in some strange way, it's like it gives me enough so that I learn enough so that I can continue on to the next chapter, because the next chapter is actually going to be more difficult. So it's a self-feeding kind of cycle, which is, I don't want it to continue, but if it does for a while longer, I'm glad that this is kind of how the gears work. Because I would be left behind if this circumstance didn't give me things that I could learn to then cope with the next level of this thing. It's strange how it works that way. So, yeah, I don't know. A deep sense of patience is huge, and it's helped me. And my day is just more peaceful because of it. And I have less of a risk of getting a Brazilian beatdown, and that is always good, unless I ask for it, and sometimes I do. So, all right, guys, thank you.